Welcome back to another episode of Coaches on Zoom Drinking Coffee. My name is Andrew Moss, and I am really pleased and excited to welcome Matt Hawksley to the show. Matt and I have got to know each other a little bit over the last 6-7 months, but we've never really had this conversation. So it's great to have the camera turned on to be able to have it. So great to be here, and thanks for coming, Matt.
Thanks for having me, Andrew. Yeah, look forward to the discussion. And like you said, it's been one of those ones that unfortunately we've put off for a bit, but yeah, I'm really excited about exchanging some information and learning a lot.
Yeah. So I've been curious to ask you this question for a long time, which is, you are right now in a master's program, entrepreneurship innovation, launching a coaching initiative and mentoring initiative, but the background. So where did this all come from? And sort of how did you're not from Canada, you've come to Queen's University in Kingston. So tell us about the journey a little bit.
Sure. So the journey has led, as you mentioned, to Kingston, Ontario, and to Queen's University in the master's program in innovation and entrepreneurship. So it's kind of all come circle right into here. So I lived the corporate life for a long time, executive in management and operations for a logistics firm. So I really did love the company, family-owned business, and 20 plus years in, always had another opportunity, kept me going. And really, for me, early on, I wanted three things when I came out of undergrad: to work my way up the corporate ladder to the top, to live abroad and gain international experience, and the last part, to really start my own business and build it from the ground up. So the first two I really pursued and sought after hard. So I was able to continue to grow and move through the ranks in that organization, and had a great time. I was in Chicago for the past 4 years, but at that point in time, I was recognizing more and more that third component, really that drive to start my own business, was really starting to come to the surface more and more. And as I really started to reflect, there were some other personal scenarios and relationships that had maybe taken a turn for the worse. And as I really started to reflect about it, I was sacrificing a lot of different things that maybe I shouldn't have. That wasn't really lined up with the values that I said that were my values. That I was dealing with a little bit of fear and some perfection issues, if you want to call it that too. So as I sat back and looked at my life and the things that really mattered most, even in the job that I had, it was really helping other people. And as I looked through the story of my life, coaching, helping others, whether that was through sports, an avid sports fan and athlete myself, and really even in the executive world, it was really just empowering people and helping them realize their full potential. So I started to explore more about coaching. I've been on the client side of it on a couple of occasions as well, so kind of got a taste and was really envisioning myself being on the other side of the conversation, and was really, really excited about that part. So really, how did I get here? Was really what I'm actually doing is writing a book called The Art of Learning in the Open. And I'd done an experiment, or I'm in the midst of the experiment, 12 to 18 months of really living in the open and learning about myself. And the journey consisted of a few different components of really, one, I did a 40-day, 40-night trip through Canada and the US, meeting a ton of entrepreneurs, different coaches, understanding what made them tick, and gaining some of the knowledge and the skill and just the energy really that they had. Next, I was really seeking wisdom, and from a base that right now is leaving the workforce, the baby boomers. So a lot of the generation has so much knowledge and intellectual capital. They're moving out of the workforce, but they've got so much life yet to live and so much knowledge. So I've been really picking at a lot of the interesting things that they had to offer. And then also, thirdly, I looked at gaining more perspective. I'd worked with that same company for a long time, and it was a global firm, and I had a lot of different, broad contacts and networks. But really, I was looking to expand my knowledge. So I worked with a group called Starting Block that brings together so many different global leaders from all different walks of life, ethnicities, and gender. So it was really mind-blowing and eye-opening from that. But all of that wisdom, all of that knowledge, all the things that I gained, I wanted to put it all together. So when I was looking for different programs, I had finished my MBA before at the University of Missouri, but Queens, in this program that I'm in now, this innovation and entrepreneurship is really based on emergent learning practices, emergent strategy, where those things that you can learn, it's an adaptive style process. You put it into action, and you're well aware of some of those different things, being engaged with that and how we came together.
Mm-hmm.
But really, this story is kind of how I all of a sudden became into this in the coaching arena, and fulfilling a lot of the different goals that I'd set for myself, becoming more self-actualized, overcoming some of those fear-based restrictions, and just bringing to fruition all of those dreams that I had from before.
Yeah. Wow.
In the
lot.
Just the 2-second synopsis.
Yeah, there's a lot packed in there. Fascinating how we have a lot of similarities in our journey, and that grew up in a family-owned business as well, and know that that's not always the easiest thing to extract yourself from. So
absolutely,
I'm sure that's got its own stories attached to it. Also, the personal changes in our lives, and how that forces us to kind of self-reflect and figure out, what version of ourselves we actually should, want to be living and start pursuing.
Yeah.
And the athletic background, as I come from a sports coaching background originally as well. And it's fascinating how many of the conversations I've been having with coaches who, that part of their background has really helped shape the kinds of coaching, and maybe there were sports coaches in their past that really inspired them to pursue coaching as well. So maybe we can unpack, because there's a lot in what you said there, but about the backstory part is sort of, who has been an inspiration for you in the way that you're pursuing coaching? And I know you've been searching for inspiration and wisdom from a lot of people, but are there some foundational people that you had in your life that really sort of shaped the way you're approaching coaching now?
Sure. Yeah. So I think, coming from that sports background as well. So I was in track and field, and I was a decathlete. So one of the coaches before was like, you're the jack of all trades and the master of none, which at the time kind of frustrated me, because I wanted to be, the best in each thing. But so at that point, when I went to undergrad in a school called Mount St. Mary's in Maryland, actually had a pretty good decathlon program. And one of the coaches, Jim Deegan, also another one, Mike Merritt, were two big influences on me in really helping me to believe in myself. Because I started as a walk-on, and then earned a scholarship as I moved through it into my sophomore year. And it just really the discipline, the practice, and more of the understanding the why you were doing things, and how leading in understanding that part, and then instilling that discipline into your practice routines and everything, can lead to great things, performance. And I was able to really just continue to get a lot of PRs, or personal records or personal bests each year as I was continuing to grow. And so there were early influences on me in the power of really discipline, but then also believing in yourself. Yeah. And as I've continued on, so it's kind of like my philosophy on coaching really too, is really that breaking down that first barrier in that believe category. You need to have the right mindset, understand the why, to then move that forward. And then getting into an achieve type factor, really needing to know goals and then some objectives once you can get past, an understanding who you are and what you want. So in my working world, like I mentioned, the family business, and it was really from the leadership perspective too, that were also coaches for me. The president of the company, Mike Andaloro, and the CEO, Rich Bolt, were two different personalities, but also taught many, many great things to me in how to get things done, and really helped me shape some of my coaching practices there's a little bit of direct, tough love that's there in many cases, but then also it's a lot of that, instilling the trust that's there first. I think that's the core part in any type of coaching relationship as it's moving forward.
Yeah.
So from the sports side, and then also the corporate, the leadership side, those were some major influences on me. I mean, obviously there's many more, but kind of the ones that really helped to shape, that part of it. Those are definitely key ones.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned the trust and tough love. It's always been interesting to me how the more elite the performer, the more they actually demand that of somebody, both of those components, right? First of
Yeah.
all, their threshold for trust is super high,
Hmm.
and you have to build it up with them over a long time. But once you
Absolutely.
have it, they really challenge you to hold them to the highest possible standard. And I always really enjoyed finding those kinds of people out
Absolutely.
there. And so you've mentioned at various times over the last few months your father's influence as well in terms of business and I'm sure everything.
Yeah.
But having both grown up in family businesses, we watch our parents, run their business and build the business, and maybe we have siblings that are involved, and so how was that for you in terms of taking a step away from that and really sort of going on your own journey? How did that come about, and sort of what's the reflections now that you've got some space after having gone through that?
Yeah. So for me, the family side was actually those people, Rich Bolt, that was the family that I kind of acclimated to. So
Yeah.
my father, though, also was a huge influence on me. So there were a couple different dynamics there. But with the family business, I came in at the company when it was probably about 800 or so people, still, pretty large. But, as time went on, we saw it grow to about, 5,400 people. And I was a key part of that and felt like I was really, a catalyst in the growth of the company. And that was really one of the hardest things. And when companies say that it's a family business and, that's one of our core values, many times it may just be words or, something that's on a website to lure you in. But I truly did feel that family connection, and seeing it right from the top and having them as my mentors, it was extremely hard to break away. It felt like it was actually like a divorce or some type of thing where, it just wasn't an easy break to just go off and find another job type thing. So for me, it was really in that reflection period, what do I truly want? Who do I truly want to be? What are those things that, I want to attain? And when I looked at it hard, it wasn't necessarily going to be with that company anymore. And it wasn't anything to do with the company and the people. Again, like I said, it was hard. It was very heartbreaking sometimes to kind of make that move. But then in the end, when I was looking after what I really wanted, I started to find that why inside. And that's how I was able to really propel myself to doing what I was doing. And, I feel extremely lucky and fortunate that I was able to have this opportunity kind of to do this. And, this experiment, as I call it, to really move it forward, to really understand the true art of learning in the open, but then also find that vocation in coaching, and then spending, my days and a career working with other people, helping them grow and learn. So it was really, it was one of those biggest decisions of my life type of scenarios. And it required a lot of thinking and talking to other people and really just sitting it with myself to see, all right, what do I really want?
Yeah, you say lucky, I say courageous. I mean, you and I talk to people every day who are living in what they believe is sort of a jail cell of their life or their job or whatever, right? And nobody's told them yet that the door is unlocked.
Right.
And it's hard. Yes, we have to make sacrifices. Sometimes we have to rebuild from scratch, and in a personal way and in a business way. But I love the clarity of the why, because that really is sort of the thing that leads you in the direction. You've always struck me as somebody that wasn't too connected on the how, and your ego wasn't all caught up in the how as much as it was, let's find a way to achieve these outcomes, and kind of roll with whatever comes, and let's adjust and make it work. And so we're in this time now, as we're recording, in the middle of this COVID crisis, where I've watched you adjust even your coaching practice and the way you were envisioning rolling out some really unique offerings. You've adjusted and you've adapted to the situation, and I'm curious I'd love you to talk about that, but also talk about maybe, has that even changed the way you look at the way you're going to go post-COVID?
Right. Yeah. I think, as I really stepped back, I wanted to really be a reflection of what I put out there. So, a lot of times, like you mentioned just a little bit before, I got to walk the walk, so I felt that, doing a lot of these different things helped me to be able to walk the walk. And then now with COVID-19, it's a lot of those different things that have been going on has shifted, obviously, us to a more virtual environment, and really more of a need for human connection. And really, now that we've got that energy, that exchange between people, what do we do? So some of the different key areas that I'm coaching on, or the teachings, are positioned for specifically that. So just like you said, I've had to iterate and kind of move through some different areas, but I feel like now it's for both you and I, like, we're uniquely positioned to then help a lot of different people through a lot of the mental health journey. So some of the things for me, I've really started to work with the community leaders and business leaders in Kingston. We started something called Kingston Cares. So I've been kind of one of the members of that. Corey Firth and several others have been amazing in bringing this together in such a short period of time to really be a support network, a peer network for a lot of the different business leaders who are struggling in a lot of the changes that have occurred in that. So I found that, I'm getting more and more energy from the situation and making myself available more and more to the people to help out, and just to deliver those types of services, because this is, what I felt like my vocation. This is why I'm here. This is the why for me. And it, in a way, it's thrilling. I don't want to use that word in the time of a pandemic, but I feel like I'm able to really help a lot of different people by empowering and talking through, to give them the confidence and inspiration to help move it through. And, for me, not really even looking for something in return. It's just really putting myself out there and seeing what happens.
Yeah. So in a post-COVID world, it's hard to see a finish line where that isn't part of the equation. It's going to be a long recovery. It's going to be people maybe even changing their perspectives on what business means for them, and that servant attitude that you're talking about. It's I love hearing that, because I talk to people all the time who are feeling very down, and they're feeling quite depressed about what's going on, and the advice of lift your head up, look around, and find somebody to help always strikes me as obvious, but maybe for a lot of people it's not as obvious that that's actually a great source of therapy in itself.
Right. Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think, in this moment, it's almost like kind of get in touch with your feelings and reflect. It's okay to feel a little bit of overwhelm and a little bit of that, like, whoa. But then after that, you kind of let that in, you recognize it, you have the power to direct your life and to design it the way you want. So it's kind of then now after that, and after feeling those feelings, what happens next? And for me, what I've been so, like I said, fortunate, but it's just understanding the power of human connection, and then that emergent learning strategy type of tactic, which I think coming out of COVID, that's going to be really the key, because we're finding now, even in this virtual environment, we're communicating more and more. We're not able to necessarily hug, let's say, or continue to be in one room. But in many cases, our foundational relationships and the communication tactics are more vivid and vibrant now. So it's then taking that energy that's exchanged, and then understanding the value that we have in each, and then putting it into an adaptive process to say, what can we do with this? What can I do with this? How can I grow? And it doesn't have to mean, like kind of what I did, essentially a complete 180 and go off and kind of venture and journey and start something completely new. It's just, how can you bring more value and more positive energy to whatever it is that you do, and then continue to grow as an individual. Because I think once you kind of in that mindset, and you and I have talked about mindset on our webinar before too, but I think once you kind of unlock that part and bring that attitude, then at that point, really, the whole world starts to open up and look different, which then from there, more and more opportunities just start to come, from all different directions.
Yeah. 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 Beautifully said. So why don't we talk a little bit about your current sort of project? So you've got Kingston Cares, and then the webinar you mentioned is part of a whole another project that you've got on the go. You and I are like in that way, in that we have a lot of balls in the air at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely.
All very aligned. But so talk about this project and the webinars and what that means.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the components of our acting and launching in my kind of experiment was really to launch my business. It's called Lidogo. So it encompasses the coaching part of it as well, but really it's three pronged. So there's one component that's Lidogo Ignite, where it's really our media arm that does a lot of those like webinars, podcasts. We call them fire starters, essentially bloggers across the globe that are telling those stories of resilience and transformation. The core part then too is Lidogo Unite, in which it's really our social impact project, where we're bringing together a lot of the baby boomers, those that are getting closer to retirement or are retired, that have all of that wisdom, all that knowledge, intellectual capital, and connecting that with the students and young professionals as they go through that, essentially their emergent learning journey. So it's a kind of fun, experiential type of growth plan. So we're in the midst of that platform. And then also kind of Lidogo Grow, our other pillar, where we're really driving a lot of more experiential types of journeys. So once we're able to travel again and do a little bit more of that, there's some other unique, bespoke type of experiences that we've got planned and lined up. But also it could be some micro training, micro kind of learning endeavors as well across the generational plane to really bring people together. So everything is thrown under the chords of human connection and then that emergent learning strategy, put things in practice and move.
That's great. I love the connections of the sort of intergenerational connections that you're creating, because, again, this time we're in has, separated a lot of families. It's separated a lot of seniors and parents from their families. And, over the last couple of years, it's funny actually how many retirees have come to me asking how to mentor in today's world, because they find young people are, their attention span for sort of a one-on-one lifelong mentorship isn't really the same as it was when these retirees were young. So in today's world, a lot of young people like to bounce around and ask for advice from various people. So it's, how do you support that and bring the wisdom that our older generations have together? And so maybe let's talk a little bit about how you're envisioning that working, and how you're engaging a young audience in Kingston with that retiree crowd.
Sure, absolutely. And you kind of touched on an interesting point too, because a lot of cases when we think of a mentor, like there's one person or a couple people that they have. It might be a father or a mother or something like that, but then also, for many people, somebody at their job, their immediate supervisor, boss, or the executive. But what really, as I've come to learn too, people not only want just what you'd said, more and more engagement from different mentors or different people, but also to learn different things from different people. So really how our platform would be designed is not necessarily to then find one mentor, the one match that's there. But just like in life, you're able to learn a lot of different things from many, many different people. So the experiential learning, the platform, the way it's kind of developed is based on your profiles, your objectives, your, kind of what you're striving for. And then there's a recommendation engine that would then link you to the right people along a pathway. So then at that point, you'll be able to talk to many different people. And then on the converse side, for the mentor or the baby boomer side of it, they're in a similar path where their profile would match them to the right party, but then also things that they want to learn. It can also open up for reverse mentoring, where the younger person would then be able to then help them through, different tactics, even working Zoom or doing different things such as that. So each kind of sides will be leading to a more self-actualized, kind of empowered type of state, along that way. So that's kind of one of the key things, is really to not just have one mentor, but to drive that, full social network, and then understand what you can learn from each different unique party, And in the end, really, it's kind of, you're building your legacy. You know, as you look at it, the dashboard or the map, you're able to see, boy, I've learned so many different things from a vast array of multiple different people from across the globe. In traditional mentoring, many times it's the person that's right down the street or in your company that might be located right there. Here, what we're trying to do is, you know, take advantage of the fact that the world is flat and really bring everybody, you know, together on really a good quest for knowledge, for wisdom, for, you know, a little bit of fun too.
That's fantastic. Wow. Well, that's what an inspiring mission that is. So necessary in today's world. So glad we had this opportunity to kind of put that out to the universe. And,
Thank you.
And you know, share our stories a little bit more as well. So Lidogo website and all that we'll put in the notes with the show, so it's easy for people to find. And if people want to get engaged and actually support the kind of work you're doing, what kinds of opportunities would there be for, you know, the kinds of people that are going to be watching this show, or people that come from the same sort of place that we come from in terms of wanting to help other people? So how could somebody get involved?
Absolutely. So right now, as we're continuing to build up the platforms for our media side with, like as I mentioned, Lidogo Ignite, we're definitely looking for you know, people to help with our marketing and different you know, audio, video type of scenarios. So actually, you know, working with an applied work experience project as well, as you're quite familiar with. So definitely looking for a lot of different young, vibrant people who want to help change the world, really be a catalyst for a positive change in our society. And then also from just really the baby boomers and other mentor scenarios. On our, we're going to be releasing our new site next week, actually. So just definitely contact us through that, or, you know, I can provide some of the details for you as well afterwards, as far as an email address. We're looking for a lot of, you know, baby boomers and mentors that are really willing to give back, that want to connect with others, and just be a part of our platform and our you know, process for change.
Wonderful. All right. Well, we'll make sure we compile all that information, make it available with the show. And Matt, it's been great to connect, great to chat. Feels like we're going to have many more of these conversations going forward. We're on very aligned journeys here, which is great. And it's you know, a big part of why I created this podcast was, I know there's a lot of people who are doing amazing work, and their stories need to get out there. So I hope this helps a little bit.
Absolutely.
And we'll keep working together as best we can.
No, I really appreciate it. Really enjoyed it, and I'm glad we had you know, the first of many right here. So thanks again.
Absolutely. Yeah. Take care, and yeah, let me know if there's anything I can do.
Will do. Thanks again.
All right.